Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm a guy called Joe, and this is Bootstrapping Tools Community Counsel, where we talk about certain subjects that isn't really about building anything in particular, but more so talking about concepts and theories that can help you elevate yourself, your team, or your company. So, for this video's topic, we're going to be talking about what to look for when you're interviewing a product manager. Now, if you don't know what a product manager is in the tech world, it's basically someone who is put into place to be in charge of the product success. And that has to do with, doing research with the users, figuring out, what their pain points are, what they like, what they don't like about the product, and then looking into different features that you might be able to build into it, helping develop a roadmap or a vision for that product, as well as doing just, general R&D to see if there's other features or new products that you should be, working on or focusing on. You can kind of think of them as, the glue that would help put different departments together, whether that's the engineering team or the marketing team or the sales team. It's really just the person who is kind of put on the spot to help manage the success of a particular product. Now, I've been doing product management for a little over a decade now. I work with a lot of different product managers, and there's a lot of bad product managers out there. There's also a lot of good product managers out there. So I'm hoping that in this video, as we talk through it, I can help you figure out how to sniff out whether or not the person you're interviewing is a good product manager or a bad product manager that you really want to avoid. There's a lot of those guys out there, good guys and gals out there for sure. So, you want to be mindful when you're talking to them, when you're interviewing them, that you really suss out whether or not they're one or the other. So one of the first things that I would say that you want to look into is essentially their characteristics or their attributes. All right. And the first one that I like to say is key to any product manager out there is that they have to have no ego. And ego is one of those things. It's like, you probably don't want that in anybody at all, but it's especially true when it comes to product managers, because if you start talking to a product manager and they're just talking on and on and on and on about how they did this and they did that and they led the team to do this or they led the company, they drove these numbers. If they keep saying that I did it, right, that like me, that's a red flag. You want to make sure that your product manager, when they're talking about it, a really good sign of a product manager that works as a team is someone who says we, right? We as a team helped drive the metrics up, or when I was working with the team, we shipped a product, or we enabled something, or we helped the user, right? The product manager is supposed to look at the product and the execution of it through the lens of a team environment, because the product manager can't do it themselves, right? They need a team. They're mostly coordinating various different teams, giving them guidance or giving them guidelines, based on the user's needs on what needs to get built or how it needs to get built or how to approach it. So number one thing, ego. If you start noticing that your product manager is constantly saying that he or she is the reason that a product was successful, that's a red flag. Avoid. Now the next thing is collaborative or collaboration. So a product manager a lot of the times needs to work with a team. Like I mentioned before, no ego, right? It's not an I did this, right? There's no self-glory here. Product manager helps drive a team to success by working with them and making sure that the team is supported and unblocked at all times. So being collaborative is very important. And it's not just from the product manager's point of view on what is successful, right? Product manager will go out and do user research, grab that research back, but they have to, or they should be taking that information and sharing it with the rest of the team, the people who are actually going to be solving the problem with them. So that could be the engineering team, that could be the sales team, that could be the marketing team, that could be creative, or whoever it might be, right? Anybody in the company, that product manager should be making that information transparent and available to everybody, sitting them in a room and saying, these are the top 3 pain points that our users are facing, or these are the top 3 things that our users love about our product, or these are the top 3 things that I've noticed from blah, blah, blah about our users, and then help drive a decision from the team in a collaborative environment. So make sure that when you're talking to a PM, a product manager, that they don't get that you don't get that sense from them that they're more like that dictatorial type where they say this is the way that we should build it and that's how it's going to be. You never want that from a product manager. It should be collaborative and team together should come up with the solution. Now that brings us to transparency, or being transparent. As a product manager, if they're not transparent with you, that's a problem. If the product is doing great, they're going to want to talk about it. And what I like to say actually is that if a product goes well, the team is the one who gets all the kudos. If a product goes poorly, all the blame should be on the product manager. And that's because the product manager is supposed to be at the helm, talking to the users, being that interface, for the external parties. They should be gathering that information, making it available, making it easily accessible, so transparent to the rest of the team so that they understand what the context is about what the product or feature they're trying to build, so that they can think about what is the best way to approach it. And you as a team, together, all the different departments can figure out what that approach should be. So being transparent is very important. If a product is doing poorly, the product manager has to be able to let everybody know, right? Weekly updates, bi-weekly updates, whatever it might be, monthly updates, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, as long as the information gets communicated, that's on the product manager, and they should be telling you. Same thing goes for if a product is about to release or a product is doing well. Product manager should be very transparent about that information. All the metrics and everything should be available. If you talk to a product manager who is potentially hiding something, you should be wary of it. So when you're interviewing someone, it's hard to see whether or not they're transparent, but ask them about one of the projects that they worked on. And see if they give you any of the numbers, as long as it's not like confidential information. But of course, just look for that transparency. It's mostly really tied to communication. So maybe gear your questions towards communication or something like that. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is being proactive. A product manager shouldn't be reactive to the environment. If you want someone who's going to help push your company forward, or your team forward, or your product forward, you want someone who's proactively going out there to talk to users, proactively creating surveys, proactively thinking about what the next iteration of the product might be, and then going out there and testing it. So if you have someone who's proactively making prototypes, great, if they had the skill set. Some product managers don't, so don't hold it against them. But if they're going out there and figuring out a way to be a little scrappy, and figure out if they can get some type of direction or signal from the market, that's great. But key is being proactive. You don't want someone who's been a product manager handling like a service desk queue or something like that. They're going to be great for maintaining a product, but they're not going to help you push your product forward to the next level. Now, things that are also important that you're going to want to interview for are the skill sets for them. And a lot of people ask well, what does a product manager do? Well, they do a lot of planning, they do a lot of research, they do a lot of coordination, and that kind of comes into execution as a skill set. And there are two things that I want to highlight in the execution skill set. One of them is process. Process is very important. If you're a product manager working in a tech company, a SaaS product manager, if they don't know what agile development is, properly know what agile development is. I know it's a buzzword and everything like that. And, you guys might be watching and say, what do you mean by proper agile development? Well, I don't mean like you have to follow to a T. At the end of the day, your product manager should understand the difference between Scrum and Kanban and the difference between agile and waterfall. And they have to understand that as you go into, Scrum and you're doing sprint cycles, that the repercussions of pulling in work means that you have to pull other work out, and then also the estimation points and all that. They just really need to have a really fine handle on those concepts. Outside of the development process, there's also the design process, as well as the user research process and all that they should be very comfortable with. So if you're worried about execution for PM, or you're hiring a PM to help you with the execution, you're going to want to brush up a little bit on those concepts: design process, the development process, as well as the research process. Not to mention the analytics part of it, the measurement process, in which you actually go back and you create dashboards to measure the success of your product or the failure of your product. Now, additionally with that, communication is super important, right? You can have all the greatest process in the world. You can know it to a T. You can know that you should go from, core concepts to rapid prototyping to testing to user testing, and then iterate through that, and you have all that. But if they're not communicating back the results out to the team, doesn't matter. They might as well just work in a black box, isolated by themselves in a silo. It doesn't help anybody at that point. So you want to make sure that they're able to communicate. Some people aren't very, I guess, comfortable communicating, and that's okay. But a product manager, that's part of your job. So make sure that when you're talking to someone, that they can clearly communicate to you what their past experiences were when you're asking them about a project or a product that they worked on, and the processes that they use to bring that product to success. Now, the other side of product management is the strategic side of product management. What I like to say is that, execution is really important, right? And execution, you can scale from, as an individual PM, you can do all the execution and stuff like that. And then as you grow as a PM, you become more of a product leader, a product management leader, and you have a team underneath of you. You become a group PM or a lead PM or, director, VP, or whatever your title might be. You start managing groups of PMs under you, who now you have to change that process or instill process with them. So there's a couple of different levels of skill sets there that we can go into in another video. But it all has to do with kind of strategy as well. So if a PM doesn't have that strategic thinking side of them, chances are they're not going to be able to manage a team. And I say that because for strategy, you have to have vision. And when I say vision, it's like product vision, not only product vision, but vision for the overall company. If you understand where the company is going or what the company is trying to accomplish, and this is where company goals or company OKRs comes into play here. As long as you understand the vision of the company, then you can figure out what the product vision should be. And understanding what the goals are, the company, your PM, when you're talking to them, try to see if they could maybe connect the dots on what this product should do overall at the end of the day. You can use one of the examples that I like to use a lot, right, is Facebook, for example. They have that newsletter feed or that news feed that they have, and then you have to think about how are you going to build that, right? What can that expand to? Well, just talk to them about how they might make that feature better. Right? Are they using machine learning to personalize some of the content? Are there going to be ads in there? Do they allow commenting on it? Talk to them about how the Facebook newsfeed could be expanded. You don't have to use the Facebook newsfeed. You can use other products out there as well, but maybe use your own product, right? If your company is specializing in a particular type of product, like messaging or purchase or e-com or whatever that might be, give them a scenario and just say we're trying to do this, right? We have this product and the company goal is to do X more revenue or something like that in a year from now, right? What would your light 3, 6, 9 month roadmap be? And let them talk to you about what their vision might be. They might ask you questions, and they should ask you questions. That goes back up to communication, right? You got to ask questions to understand, to figure out what the vision is. And besides that, you also need to be able to combine concepts. So when you're interviewing a PM, try to throw it at them, right? You throw one use case at them and then throw another, and then see if they're able to connect the dots. I like to use these brain kind of, it's not really a brainstorming, it's like a brain teaser scenario. I like to use the one with Google and question why did they release Chrome? Because Chrome itself, great products, and at the time that they released it, I think the marketing was talking about it being 2x faster or 10x faster, whatever it might be, faster than what was around at that time, Internet Explorer or Netscape or Yahoo, right? And their primary source of revenue at that time was ads, so it was linking all those two together is also important to find in a PM if you're looking for a PM to help you with your strategy or your product vision. That was a lot of information, but essentially, there's a lot of different things you should be looking for when you're talking to a PM. If you're looking for someone who's going to be more tactical and execute and just drive things forward to build the product out, you want to look for someone who's good in process, who understands it, and who's very proactive in their communications. If you're looking for someone who's going to help you figure out what the next step is for your product, you're going to want someone who has strategy, not just strategy, but also the vision and being able to combine concepts and being able to, synthesize what the what the product could become in the future and give you those options. Last thing you want is a PM who's going to come to you and say like, there's only one way to do something, and this is like the best shot for it. You more so want a PM who's going to talk to all of your users, figure out like one or not one, but 2 or 3 different alternatives on different paths that you can do, and really be able to see the success in each one, or even just highlight the failure. And one of them, maybe they'll present you with 3 and say like, the third one might be easy, but it's not going to give us a lot of gain and likely might shoehorn us or something like that. But at the end of the day, when you're hiring for a PM, there's a lot of things to consider and really get a feel for them. You want to make sure that they have no ego and that they communicate and that they're nice to work with and they're collaborative. As long as they're collaborative, right, and they're not trying to be a dictator about where the product goes or what needs to be happen, or what needs to happen for the product to be successful, then you're likely going to be okay with that PM. That product manager, as long as they're not a dictator, you'll be fine. They can always learn the strategy part of it, and the execution part of it, you can always lean on somebody else. As long as that product manager is collaborative, you might have someone else on the team who's strong in the core fundamental processes for agile development. But of course, that's it for this video. If you do have any questions, this is Community Counsel, so please leave a message in the section below. We're always here to help, so don't be shy. And of course, if you liked the video, please make sure to hit that like button. It's the best way to support this channel and help our videos show up for scrappy bootstrappers and entrepreneurs just like yourself who are looking to elevate themselves, their team, and their company. We have many other videos coming out that talk about tutorials for different tools, low code and no code tools specifically out there that you can build out tools to make yourself more efficient. We're going to have more Community Counsel videos out there to talk about key concepts and theories to help you, think a little bit more about how you can be a better developer or bootstrapper in your own mind. And then of course we also have videos on community support, so that's where we help scrappy bootstrappers like yourself overcome some of the issues or roadblocks that they're facing today. And don't be shy, just let us know. But of course, hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell so that you get notified whenever we release our next video. Instead, we have a lot of them, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. But I'm a guy called Joe. This is Bootstrapping Tools Community Support. It's been a pleasure, and we're out.